Hello and welcome back to the Courageous Leaders podcast. I'm Joanna Howes, the founder of The Change Creators, where we support leadership teams in building trust, alignment and cohesion so they can win together. In today's episode, I've chosen something that I'm hearing come up in my coaching sessions the most at the moment, and that is, have we forgotten how to think? I know that might sting a little, but let's be honest. How much time do you really spend thinking? I'm not talking about the reactive, knee-jerk decisions we make between meetings. I'm talking about the time to do deep, intentional, strategic thinking. The kind of thinking that drives clarity, innovation, and true leadership, which is what we need. The truth is, though, we've become addicted to busyness. We've convinced ourselves that rushing around, cramming our calendars, and responding to endless emails means we're doing a good job. But what's the cost of that? For you as a leader, I'm guessing you're going to feel frustration, burnout, overwhelm, and a constant feeling of not feeling good enough and not progressing how you want to be. And then for your team, a lack of clear direction, support and inspiration, and the reality that they will become reliant on you for ideas and decisions, so they will become even lazier in their thinking. And for your business, missed opportunities, mediocre results, and a culture of reactivity rather than innovation. If this is resonating with you, then it's time for a shift, because let me tell you, if you're not making the time to think, you're not leading. And if your team isn't encouraged to think, they're not reaching their full potential either. So let's get into why this is happening, and more importantly, how can we move forward and make it better? Okay, first, let's unpack why we've lost touch with thinking. The first one, we're slaves to busyness. Let's call it out. Being busy has become a status symbol. If we're not rushing around, we feel like we're not working hard enough. But here's the truth. Busyness isn't a badge of honor. It's a distraction, and most likely fulfilling a need for validation and a sense of being needed by people. This is normal, but must be worked on to let this go. Then we confuse reacting with leading. We spend so much time putting out fires, responding to emails, that we forget leadership isn't about reacting, it's about deciding. And good decisions require time and thought. And then we're uncomfortable with stillness. In a world that glorifies hustle, slowing down to think feels wrong. We feel guilty, we worry people will judge us for not doing enough. But here's the thing, stillness is where the magic happens. It's where you find clarity, creativity, and solutions. And I recently did an exercise with a group of leaders to have 15 minutes to reflect on their leadership and who they want to be. Yet after just a few minutes, half the group reached for their phones as they needed something to do. And when I called that out, they hadn't even registered that's what they did. So learning to be with your thoughts and giving yourself time to reflect is vital for yours and your team's growth. So I'm going to share with you 3 tips to help you create the space for thinking and encourage your team to do the same. So tip 1, it's time to embrace the not busy leader mindset. You must change the way you think about busyness. A rush leader isn't an effective leader. Your team doesn't need you to do everything. They need you to think clearly, set direction, and empower them to execute. So give yourself permission to slow down. Remind yourself that taking time to think isn't slacking off, it's doing your job. And a practical tip, when you start to feel guilty about not being busy enough, reframe it. Tell yourself, I'm creating space to lead better. My team deserves this from me. Because your team will not grow if you do not grow yourself. Number 2, push your team to think. This isn't just about you. It's about creating a culture where thinking is valued at every level. Start challenging your team to think for themselves. When someone comes to you with a problem, don't jump in with a solution right away. Instead, ask, what do you think we should do? Or what options have you considered? This simple but impactful shift does 2 things. First, it empowers your team to develop their own problem-solving skills. And then 2, it gives you space to focus on the bigger picture thinking. And a practical tip to help, just dedicate part of your team meetings to brainstorming or strategic discussions. Make it clear that thinking is part of their job, not just executing. And the third one, block thinking time in your diary just once to show the impact it can make. Let your team know that you're not contactable for a couple of hours. Turn off your distractions and ask yourself some empowering questions. Like, 1, what am I not seeing at the moment? How would someone else approach this challenge? And if failure wasn't an option, what would I do to expand your thinking? And if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're just spinning on a hamster wheel, just stop and ask yourself this. When was the last time you gave yourself permission to stop, reflect, and think? Not multitask, not reacted, but sat down and gave yourself the space to think deeply about your leadership, your team, and your vision. Because here's the thing. If you don't prioritize thinking, no one else will do it for you. And if you're not thinking, who's steering the ship? This week, I challenge you to try one of the tips I shared today. Schedule and protect time for thinking. Let go and encourage your team to think for themselves. And then redefine what it means to have time to think. Let's change the way we lead, not just for ourselves, but for our teams and our businesses. And if this episode is resonating with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share it on social media, leave a review, and let's start a conversation about what it really means to lead with courage. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week. If you've been loving our Courageous Leaders podcast, please can I ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps keep the quality content coming and reach listeners like you that we can then really help. We fund this podcast ourselves, so to have your support means that we can keep delivering week on week. Thank you.